to let us know how your Dharma's going, ask questions, share whatever you want to share for the good of all.
Zopa, can you please tell again the story of why Milarepa is listening, why he has his hand up to his ear?
I don't know the story, but he listens. I mean, I do know it's symbolic of our need to listen, to open up to the Dharma. And I believe it's toward his teacher Marpa. So it probably has that piece to it of the Guru, respect and devotion. But I'd love to hear from Bill or Dora more about that, because they probably know.
You start.
Well, I don't know much about it, but we have a different line of discussion of it is, they'll say that he's listening to and hearing the Dakinis.
Oh.
So what that means, so what that means to me is, which is all I can tell you because I'm not really sure how a teacher like Khenpo Rinpoche would explain it, but I think the thing there is that he's hearing something that we may not be able to hear yet, but we'd like to. And I think the Dakinis are really associated with kind of the wisdom and the very deep wisdom that we can become in tune with our own nature and the nature of things. And yeah, that's probably all I can say about the Dakinis. But sometimes they say that Dakini means like kind of messenger, or so it's something that is, and I think it's something that the practice opens us up to be able to get that message from what is, I would say.
Yeah, I think the piece of being able to discern, to kind of hear the expressiveness of the Dharma, just at a very subtle level, is the recognizing that capacity. And when you mentioned listening for his teacher Marpa, this is one case where one line of text could have so many levels of meaning. And when you mentioned that, I was remembering there's one of the wisdom songs of one of the early Shangpa masters talks is a whole supplication to the nature of mind as the teacher. Very much personifying in a poetic way all the ways that one would offer to the teacher nature of mind, and the same way kind of listening. One of the ways that the word Dakini could be translated out of the Tibetan, Dakini is the Sanskrit, but the Khandro is either sometimes translated as moving in space, or it could even be the movement of space, or the expressiveness of basic nature of mind. So there are all these kinds of levels of attunement. And those are things I'm reminded of. I won't say that is the story. Those are the things, I'll qualify that to say, but much of the Dharma that can be expressed in, I was just thinking all these different levels of capacity for expression, just this, the nature of mind as the teacher, than kind of the more poetic expressions that you'll hear in the Vajra songs. Things that they're not really sort of cut and dried expressions. They're more the sense of things. And then you have the whole range of Dharma, which is very much more at the level of, we'll parse it out in very discrete ways and present the logic and the ways of analyzing things and the helpful constructs, much more detailed, much more rigorous. So you go from this kind of just this flash to something that's almost at the level of technical detail of a kind of a technical manual. So you have all these ranges of expression. So he could be listening to any of those.
Yeah, and is. Yeah.
He certainly has the capacity to hear all of those intertwined in any one moment, I would suppose.
Yeah, and obviously it's a model for us. You know, mostly we have our mouths going, and, you know, someone just said, I just read something, can't remember where this week, but it was from someone not from the United States, and who said that one thing that he noticed about the culture was that we are ready to jump in very quickly to talk when someone else is talking, and kind of planning our next move rather than dropping, being present and just listening. So that's something we can certainly look at him and go, may I do that more?
How does practice address that the human experiences we have of discouragement or depression or those sorts of life experiences?
Well, Peter, how does it work for you? You come, you practice. I know you practice home. So let's pick discouragement, it arises. How does practice, how do you apply it?
In no deliberate way.
Okay. So how does it work in an undeliberate way?
I guess the reason for the question is that I'm not sure it does for me.
Okay. Now
or that I see a way that it would.
Okay. Oh, that's my question all the time, all day. I just had to keep going with you to see what it exactly was. So early on in the Dharma, I learned a lot of antidotes, deliberate, conceptual antidotes. Those rely on the same thing we have to do in all experiences of our lives, which is first seeing what's the problem. You know, if I'm going to apply an antidote, I got to first see what's the problem. So calm abiding is one of the main ways into that. So surely when you sit, you see what your mind does, right? It goes here, there, everywhere. And often we can start to recognize patterns, like what does my mind really want to do when I'm quieting down? It's like to think about historical things and memories, doesn't like to argue with people, doesn't want to do futuring. You can, and all of our minds kind of do a lot of all of that, but you can kind of start seeing, oh, I tend to go for all my irritations, or I tend to go for all my cravings, you know. So calm abiding can help us see, and it can also, as we practice it deeper and deeper and deeper, kind of the Kagyu Nyingma specialty is get flashes of, or instances of, or even stable full experiences, realizations of the nature of mind that is not all that, not caught in all that, okay? But from which all that gosh, our words are so clunky, because I want to say within which all that exists, arises, and of course it doesn't exist and doesn't arise. But so anyway, but if you want very deliberate antidotes, they're in the teachings very clearly. I'll give you an example. You know some of them already. Jealousy rises. Bill knows a lot of stuff I don't know. What I want to do actually is just put an ear there and get it all right now. Sometimes I meet with him to just do that. Like, what do you know about this? And he just pours it, Dora can do a lot of things I can't do anymore because I'm aging. So, jealousy can arise. And my job is to see it and then say, that's jealousy, Zopa, just to myself. And then if I manage it, they don't have to. This is really core key thing that Kim MacLeod used to teach over and over in his retreats, and I went to 2 or 3 of them. Whatever you don't manage, the people around you have to. Well, that's the opposite of the Bodhisattva path. In other words, we're increasing their suffering instead of relieving them from suffering. So if I see, Zopa, you're feeling jealous. Okay, I can do one of 2 things. Well, I can do a lot of stuff. I could get really bad. But let's say I'm not going that way. In the Dharma, in very general terms, there's sort of 2 ways to go. The Kagyus more emphasize, just see the nature of it. Zopa, what's your jealousy made out of? Well, there's a physical sensation, maybe tight, maybe nervous, maybe graspy, but, some kind of physical thing. Then I can see, what are the thought patterns going? I should have that. They should help me. People like them more than they like me. And me being liked is really important. Not. Anyway, just watching the thoughts. And then seeing, what are those made of? Pin one down. Try to hold it for a full minute in sheer, clear focus. It's boring. And besides, your mind won't stay on it. It'll go to the next story. My sister, that's the one, she was jealous of me because I was smarter than her, so it's all her fault. She was the pretty one, I was the smart one. Oh my God, what a bunch of nonsense. So you just see, but you also see all of that is made up of nada. Try to get it, try to hold it, try to show it. I can't show you air. It's the same thing. So those are that's more the mind training kind of in the Kagyu Nyingma. In the Gelug, it's more like, okay, there is an exact antidote to jealousy. Here's what it is. I will sit here, I will notice, and I will rejoice. I will fake rejoicing. You've got to fake it first, the old fake it till you make it. That's all Dharma practice. There's a lot of fake it till we make it. And that's okay. It's on the way. So then I sit there and I go, well, am I happy that these 2 are where they are? Oh my God, am I happy? Oh my Buddha, am I happy? Do I benefit off of this? Oh yeah. So you start seeing the interconnectedness, and your jealousy just kind of goes. One time Venerable Chidren had just taught this specific thing to jealousy, then there's specific ones to attachment and to anger. And I went into a restaurant shortly after that retreat, and I was dining alone, which is always kind of, not that much fun, or you feel a little vulnerable. And I walked in, and a couple walked in right behind me, and the server looked at them and sat them first. So now it's like, oh, yay, I'm invisible, right? Now my frustration's rising, and my anxiety, or my sense of, and you see it. And I thought, oh, okay, I'm jealous of them. They're already sitting at a table, and I have to wait. So here goes the language of the body. And I thought, well, I'm going to try this thing out that Venerable Children said. So I watched them, and I watched them sit down, and I watched them be happy, and I watched them, get the menus and chat with each other and all that. And I thought, could I try rejoicing in that? Pretty interesting, And then I thought, why not? Why not? What do I have against them? Could I be happy that they're happy, and I wait 5 minutes? Who cares? And it worked. So there are very specific ones for each thing. For attachment, one of them is, there's several, but one of them is just give it away, whatever it is. So I can, on a cushion, give my 2 grandsons away, my 3 grandsons away, over and over. And it's scratchy. It's like, no, But you can start by giving the people away to the Buddha. Give your spouse away to the Buddha. Just, I'm making the mandala gesture here. Put them in there, give them away to the Buddha, just on your cushion, just so that you get used to giving. See the gesture of the hands. Let go. Give your house away. Give your car away. Give your computer away. Give your job away. Just do it over and over. Someday it's going to go, right? Right? Am I making a story up here? Everything is going to go. Your body, too. One of the givings in the mandala is put your body in there. Give it. That way we can live happy now, because our anxiety goes down, our clutching goes down. And we can be more at peace when we hit those times when the thing is going to go. It's like, oh, I always expected that to go. We should expect things to go. Then we appreciate them more, right? What if this was the last time we got to sit in here? Could be, we don't know, not likely. But think about that for a second. Doesn't it make it extra precious? Look at these conditions. But we miss that because we're like, oh yeah, we'll be back. Well, we'll be back Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday. That makes sense. So there are these specific things, where to find them. There's some very good links in the tubtenchildren.org, my teacher's site, where she gives verbal teachings on it and lists them and talks about. So if you want that, you can email me, or I'll write it down for you before we leave today. Okay. It's a really good question. So I kind of dance between in my practice now, all lineages will say, you got to see what's going on in your mind. Okay, there's no lineage in Buddhism that'll say you don't have to do that. And then what you do with it, they have different approaches. So I like to try just, what's this made of? What is this? The past is gone. Future's not here. What's this? Oh, it's already the past. So what's this? And that can help with the letting go. But then sometimes that does not work for me. It does not. I try it. I'm not I'm not close enough to experiencing emptiness of things, so that my grasping's too tight, my confusion's too deep, and then I use those like very specific antidotes. And I go, okay, put the lovely, sweet little boys in here who adore me, give them away. No! And just watch that. No, what's that about? They're changing all the time. You know, someday they won't even like me. That always happens. So, okay.
But what about depression? I think that's what I heard in that question. And I mean, I see
Yeah.
depressed people, friends who are depressed, and I think, oh, if only I could give them the Dharma. You know,
Yeah.
this would make a difference. But what if you have the Dharma, you practice the Dharma, you sit every morning, and still the beast is still there,
Yeah.
and still that dark cloud is there, and you think, this isn't working for me. I mean, what if you lose your trust in the Dharma to make your life beautiful or something?
Yeah.
What do you do then? That's, because then the antidotes are kind of undercut because you don't really believe in them anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's hard when you feel depressed to
And
apply.
I'm not really talking out of experience, but that's the question
When anyone
I heard.
feels depressed, and we all feel towards that some, but chronic depression, that's really tough. It's hard to crawl out of that and apply an antidote. But one of the just you kind of pointed toward it in your own question. The Dharma's not to make this life beautiful. And if we do it for that reason, we will fail. It's not about that. There's all kinds of mind training slogans and teachings toward this. One of my favorites is Lama Michael saying to me when I hit one of those kind of walls, and just like nothing's working, you know, I'm in danger of hating all this, you know. And he said, oh, well, you have to practice this life for the next life. It's like, are you kidding? What about this life? I want to be happy now. And that was his point. That's not the goal. The goal now in your life is create these habits and patterns and work to apply, go through the difficult times, the easy times, with an eye toward, of course you want to be in the present. Of course. Well, we are, you know. But with an eye towards, I'm working on this consciousness, which has existed since beginningless time and is going to go on endlessly. I have my 84 years or whatever to work on it. I've done some good stuff. I've worked hard. If I think of my mind when I was 21, God, and now, it has improved a lot. Thanks to the Dharma, my teachers, therapy, some bad experiences, all of that. So it's that longer view. But depression's hard. I have a friend who runs a healing from depression group, and he suffers from chronic depression and has most of his life. So, you know, getting professional help's really good, or getting into a group that of folks dealing with that. And just knowing everything's impermanent, even depression, you know. And I think I had a very depressed time when I quit lawyering. I had so much ego wrapped up in being a lawyer and in being a legal aid lawyer, a lawyer that was saving the world, not those bad lawyers who do things for corporations. I had very good, bad and good lawyers, bad and good people. It was miserable. I had so much bad and good. It was a miserable time. But when I had to quit due to some pretty serious health issues, in 1989, and I moved into mediating, which was a lot more fulfilling. But I went through a terrible depression for about 5 months, and I got a good therapist, and I kept asking her how long this would last, because I said, I can't do this very long. She said, oh, maybe it'll go another couple months. You're doing okay. And yeah, we have to get all the help we can. And Dharma helped some then. And no, I didn't have Dharma. Therapy helped, and reading, uplifting things, talking to friends, all of that. There's no easy piece for it. But I did learn it's made up of a lot of layers. And one layer for me about depression was my identification with what I had been and had done that I could no longer do. And the stronger that identification was, the more miserable I was. So this sense of let go, accept is really key. And I even think accepting I'm really depressed right now and not trying to be something else can be helpful. And then looking for help. That's all I can say. But I'm open to other ideas, things people have used or know about. Bill and Dora, anything?
I think it is important to distinguish between different kinds of experiences and the different ways that this could unfold personally, because we use a term like discouragement or depression, and depending on the personal circumstance, it could mean, could be attached to a very, very different life story. Mm-hmm. Could be attached to a very different, you could say, personal style, just the way that whoever might be just approaching all things in life. It could be something like a very challenging circumstance, like a transition. So these kinds of things, I think it's quite important to actually not put just kind of one big brush over it, and to recognize that very different kinds of responses would be appropriate. I think there is a way in which, as you said, Zopa, and there's the cover of one of the Zigar Control's book. It's Not for Happiness, or Zongser. One of the it's Not for Happiness, and it's it's got a picture of a martini glass on the front. We will have disappointment if we treat the Dharma like it's another pill or another martini to take in order to make everything better. So there is one of the very difficult things in our lives as I keep looking and I think, did I get born into the circumstance where everything is working out about as well as it possibly can work out, and it's just about to go to hell in a handbasket? But in this situation where so many things are convenient, so many issues are considered solvable or just almost about to be solved, This is very much a setup for extremely high expectations about life, extremely high expectations, which then we internalize that I should be as happy as I think that some people think they ought to be, it's really this kind of, when you start to look at it, it's this very, very humorous situation where we're kind of chasing around the corner after something that nobody's actually ever seen, but we really believe it and never had it, but there we are, kind of just running faster, just because we're sure that that little echo that we heard, that was happiness just dodging around the corner of the barn ahead of us, and so we just have to go faster after it. So there is a way in which kind of having some sense of kind of relax a little bit, have a little bit more sense of kind of realism about what life can actually provide. And when you mentioned discouragement, Peter, I thought, well, which kind of discouragement? I mean, is it the discouragement on the side of actually life is not as nice as I wish it was? That's one kind of discouragement. And we could say that's actually kind of a healthy realization. I was like, maybe I can't bet all the chips out there. I can't put the burden for changing my diaper on everybody else. This is something that there really is something on from my side to take responsibility for in the middle of it, not put the burden outside. But then there's the kind of the internal reflection, like I'm the one that should be able to make it all work. Now that I have this magic potion of the Dharma, I should take a few sips every morning, and that'll be that. But I'm not making it work. So there's a kind of depression that can set in, discouragement can set in from that side. So there are all kinds of things, and each one of those, I think, has a different way to work with it. And the one that's, I think, the most difficult is a kind of a lifelong style of, and I use style sometimes it's to lighten things up. In this case, it feels like a little bit of a heavy burden. I have a depressed style, as though I could just take it off. There is a way in which that's true, but it's very, very difficult to take off. Very, very difficult. And there are many people who just find they can't. And I'm thinking of a few people I know that committed suicide because they just never found a way to take that off, to set that aside. So I don't want to make it sound all lighthearted, but there are ways through this, and the more that we can practice without a particular expectation that it's going to turn out a certain way, that we will get a payoff, that when we pull the strings on the Christmas package of the Dharma payoff, that there's going to be the thing inside that we really were hoping for, that we fantasized about based on our worldly projections. So it's each situation is different, but I think acute depression can actually be the ground for some very deep practice.
Yeah, definitely. And that's back to the first thing I read today, transforming adverse conditions into the Dharma. This also has a lot to do with the concept of renunciation, which I prefer to look at the translation of determination to be free. It's really important that we check in and cultivate our determination to be free. Free of what? Suffering. The suffering in our minds. The suffering, and therefore, as we free ourselves, we automatically free others due to the incredible deep interdependence. Whatever we do affects others. Kempo walks in the door, Kempo Lodro Donyo, carrying eons of practice with him. And we feel it. He doesn't have to say anything, right? I mean, I'd be happy if he just comes and sits there and meditates with us. And of course, we've asked him to say things because we need that. But that's a result of the determination to be free. Free of what? Suffering. Renounce what? Renounce the suffering in your mind. There's no renunciation like you got to give away your house and your car and your partner. You just have to practice that to free your mind. But you don't have to actually do it. What we're giving away is the suffering of our attachment. When we're attached, we can't see straight. We can't even see the person straight. We see what we want, we see what we're making up, we try to fix that. We're not even really having a straight-on interaction. We're interacting with our illusion. And the more the attachment, the deeper the illusion, or the more the aversion. We can see that real clear, right? Like I hate all people from, Mars. I just hate them. And I know what they're like. I've seen them. I've heard all about it. I see they've done all these things. So I meet somebody from there. I can't even see them. I'm in my delusion, which is very, very thick. That's what we're renouncing. We're renouncing that suffering in our own mind. And I'm always astonished how often in these discussions we come back to the very first truth of the Noble Ones that the Buddha taught. Suffering is. And I still don't completely grok it. If I did, I could get free of it quicker, but I still don't see it. For the reasons Bill referred to, we're in pretty darn good circumstances. We're not starving, we're not being bombed, we're not being gassed by our own government, we're not being forced to as refugees. And so these good circumstances cut both ways. Number one, they're wonderful because they allow us to do this. We have leisure. We can come here. We can leisure to read, leisure to go do whatever. And most of us have some material comforts. And so that can fool us because we just like it. We want to maintain it, And we don't see the suffering in it. It is suffering already. One teacher said to me when we were asking, what's the causes of suffering? And she did this. This is it. It was like, oh my God. When we take this on, the skeleton inside, all the muscles, blood, everything, we take on aging instantly. Aging isn't so much fun, no matter how old you are. Even when you're, young and spry and all that, it's still challenging. All those transitions, God, they were hard. They were joyful too. But we also have taken on uncontrolled sickness. Think of the times you've been sick. Did you sign up for it? No. Would you sign up for it again? No. Is it going to happen again? Yeah, as long as you have one of these. That's what comes with it. What comes with this package is aging, sickness, and death. At the time of birth, a little chip is in there, and it's ticking away, and you can't get it out. I hate that. But it all comes back to what did the Buddha first teach? That's what he taught, and we don't like it, so we don't contemplate it. We say, no, that's not what's happening. I'm running around the corner to get the anti-aging fix. They're going to soon be able to replace all my joints and maybe my brain. And therefore, it'll be fine. Except my friend, 2 friends now, 3 friends have gone to the hospital to get joints fixed, and they ended up with those horrible antibiotic resistant things that are in the hospital. So I'm going, oh yeah, MERS is going up and up in the hospital. So some, in our ability to get these joint replacements is going up, but when do they meet? And then that one's like, when is it like, oh, I don't really want that replacement because I don't want to be sick for 8 weeks and infused. So this is the happy news of our situation. So what does? Then we turn to the Dharma. Then our refuge becomes real. But until we actually grasp with, work with the actual conditions we're in, our refuge is kind of meh. I turn to the Buddha whenever I feel upset, and then I feel not so upset. I. That's what the bodhicitta cuts against. We're here for others. I'm here for you. You're here for me. That's what is the real, unreal peace. And every day, it's quite difficult to live in that bodhisattva mind, but we keep cultivating it. Come here for others. Do your practice on the cushion for others. Do your practice off the cushion for others, because they're you. No difference. Yeah.
By this virtue may I quickly realize Mahamudra and establish all beings without exception in this state.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good week. Come on Thursday to mind training. Come on Wednesday to Chenrezig. And we'll see you.
And think of your questions.
Yes, think of your questions for Kempo Lodro Doño. And buy books so you know what he'll be talking about.